thank you all for joining the call. This is our monthly community continental calls hosted by the Balneology Association of North America. We took a little hiatus last month, so we appreciate you all joining us back now. The Balneology Association, as most of you know, because you've been on these calls before, but I do see a few new faces, so I'll just introduce ourselves. We've been a 501c3 not-for-profit organization since 2011, and our mission is to sorry, I'm also letting people in as I'm talking, so I'm a little bit multitasking. Our mission as an organization is to promote the science, culture, and history of mineral water use for therapeutic. And so we are again a completely volunteer-run organization. So your support of BANA is always very much appreciated because it allows us to continue to do the work of just keeping the lights on, but as well as organizing and hosting these talks and doing the advocacy outreach work that we do around North America and internationally. So if you feel inclined to donate, you can do that balneology.org, and you can become a supporting member of BANA. So we always appreciate that. So I'm going to give a brief introduction here to my friend and colleague, Professor J. Paul de Verville. J. Paul is a wealth of knowledge, as many of you know, truly a master in understanding the spaces in which healing can occur. The geometrical and psychological spaces and psychospiritual spaces. And I always learn something when I speak with J. Paul, and I'm very honored to get the opportunity to work with him so closely over the last decade plus. So, J. Paul, I'm going to pass the mic to you to make some introductions and kind of give everybody the agenda for today. And as a treat and a break from you all, I'm going to keep quiet this call as much as possible. So, okay, thank you all for showing up.
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Yes, it's interesting, the spaces that we're in. I'm looking here I'm seeing that Jessica's in her car, and Jonathan is in his spa. It looks like Bevan, Fulton is in a sauna. Jim's at his desk working. Chris is relaxing, and I see Alina all the way over in Italy. So we have it's more than a continental, it's a transcontinental call today. There's Janet in her space, her healing space. And well, all of you are in the right space at the right time, because we have a wonderful presentation today from Nevin Eckert. I've known Nevin, actually, I knew Nevin before when he used his first name rather than his middle name. I knew him as Brian a long time ago when he was just getting into this work with water and healing water. And so what we're going to do today is he has a presentation for us when he's going to kind of tell his story about how he got into the sense of living waters. And he's also going to be talking about, of course, his discovery of Viktor Schauberger, who is kind of the patron saint. And what will be interesting today is that where we've been looking at mineral waters and again, the pillars of what balneology is all about, it's bathing, but bathing and drinking with waters and soaking, as well as saunas and steaming, as well as mud. So there's multiple ways that we can get in touch with nature. But I think what is happening today is that we're moving into a realm where it's the sacred waters. There's a sense of the spiritual dimension, the psychological dimension to what we're bringing to water. And so as a community, perhaps we might look at this as an experiential communion, even though we're not getting wet, but later afterwards, we can all go out and soak and drink and think about what Nevin is bringing to us. So Nevin, I'll just turn it over to you. You can tell us your story, which was will introduce yourself and then get into your deeper work. And I was totally amazed when we reconnected last week, or it was 2 weeks ago, and what you've all been through and where you're at now and where we might head in the future. So thank you very much for doing this. And also, I want to thank Anastasia for connecting us with her. She's working with, anyway, that's a whole other story, but thank you, Anastasia, as well as Janet. So Nevin?
Yeah, hello everyone. Thank you for having me. It's an incredible venue to be a part of. This is my company, TrueSpring Water Quality Solutions. It's spinning out of basically 3 years of researching and working inside the water technology industry with a holistic and a spiritual approach to water, looking at water as a sacred living substance. And oops, a little bit about me. Um, I was raised in the Southern Sierra Nevada of California on the Sequoia and the Tule River. And I was really immersed in nature as a young man. We had the Sequoia National Forest, the Sequoia National Park, the Golden Trout Wilderness Area was all my backyard. And I was very fortunate in that I had a neighbor who owned a large tract of private forest, 1,500 acres. And it was an inset parcel that you had to travel through 6 miles of Forest Service land to access. And it was the property butted up against the national park in the wilderness area. And you can see this is a view from my home, but this was my neighbor's property, Dillonwood. And all this back country was Sequoia National Park and the Golden Trout Wilderness area where I grew up. Started working in the forest when I was 11, gathering green redwood cones for seed for reforestation. And swimming in the Tule River, which was basically a string of emerald pools. Glaciers had polished all the granite rock, and just it was a magical place. In 1994, almost 30 years ago, and somewhat of a dimensional experience, I was in the water town of Calistoga, California, and I was led to Viktor Schauberger, who was known as the Water Wizard. He lived from 1885 to 1958. Some of you may know of Viktor Schauberger, but he is my primary teacher of nature and water. And his personal motto was to comprehend and copy Mother Nature. And his family's motto was faithful to the silent forest. The Schaubergers were an ancient Bavarian family of forest custodians or forest caretakers. So myself, having spent my summers caretaking Dillonwood, identified really deeply with Viktor Schauberger in my own experiences as a caretaker of the forest. Yeah, Schauberger just really changed my life. I already had a lot of experience with organic farming. I had studied permaculture. I had studied biodynamics, also biodynamic farming. And I was a very staunch environmental activist at that time. So as a young man, I kind of thought I knew a lot. And then once I dove into Viktor Schauberger, I realized that there were many blanks in between my knowledge areas. And discovering Viktor Schauberger kind of filled in a lot of blanks and was a real aha moment for me. At that time, there was only one book available, one small book called Living Water. And that was this book. So in 94, these were the first two books that I wrote. Living Water is by Olaf Alexanderson, is just a biological account of Viktor Schauberger's life, his life. And then the other book that I read was Water, the Element of Life, Sciences in Harris Street, Germany. And they were the first to develop a methylating substance. And I'll go into that in a moment. Viktor Schauberger, at the turn of the century, was put in charge of a large tract of Upper Austria, areas where a man had never even visited before. And when he was up caretaking the forest, he witnessed natural phenomena, such as one day he was sitting next to an alpine lake, and all of a sudden there was an earthquake and the ground shook. And then the next thing that he witnessed was a water spout, like a 30-meter water spout, shoot up from the center of the alpine lake. The next thing that happened after that water spout collapsed back into the lake, the whole lake began to churn in a huge vortex. And from the outer edges of that vortex, all the logs that were on the bottom of the lake rose up to the surface, danced around in the vortex, and then got violently sucked back down to the bottom of the lake again. So he was, experiencing nature in its primordial state. And from there, he was able to receive Mother Nature's secrets of her workings. So other things, other natural phenomena that Viktor meditated on were trout going up like a 20-meter waterfall. And then he kind of got into a practice of meditating on flowing water. And when that happened, he went into a trance type state and essentially got downloaded by Mother Nature of all her workings on a mathematical, on a physics level, on a biological level. And Schauberger was able to extrapolate that information into technologies and systems to handle water in a holistic and natural way. And really what nature led him to were the principles of implosion. So we have implosion and explosion, and implosion being the energy that conducts life, that uplifts life, whereas explosion is the energy that we find when things are dying or decaying or decomposing. And what's so incredible about the work of Viktor Schauberger is his perception of the earth as a living organism unto itself, just like you and I are living organisms. And all his teachings and his philosophy and his physics and mathematics are all from looking at the earth in its primordial state before man started tinkering with the earth. So perceiving her in her most vibrant, alive essence is what Viktor did. And from there, he went on to doing all kinds of really incredible things with water. He had influences in agriculture and with energy as well. But if you're interested, I suggest starting out with the book Living Water. And then from there, in 96, Callum Coates, who spent 25 years with Walter Schauberger, created the book Living Energies. And I refer to that book as basically the holy grail of nature books, which really explain in depth, thoroughly the physics and mathematics of nature in a holistic context.
Marcus, can you mute
Schauberger
everyone?
was a huge inspiration.
Hey, Peter, just sorry to interrupt. Just a reminder, there's a few of you who are unmuted and your voice is getting picked up and interrupting. So if you just don't mind muting. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to automatically mute people while Peter's sharing, so just be a little bit mindful of that. And then Peter, also, because of the access, sorry to totally derail, at the top of your screen, you might be seeing some people in the waiting room periodically, and if that pops up, just if you don't mind clicking admit, that would be great. But no, sorry, and please continue. I'm fascinated by what you're saying.
So I need to do the admit myself.
No, no, just that one time. Don't worry about it going forward.
Okay, no problem. Um, so one of the very fundamental teachings from Viktor Schauberger was the circulation of fresh water on the earth, and how that was essentially how the earth conducted its electricity, or its bioelectricity, and conducted its life force, was through the respiration and the circulation of fresh water throughout the earth. And most importantly were the existence of true springs. So we have seepage springs and we have true springs, but true springs are very crucial. Unfortunately, many of them have gone extinct because of the disappearance of our ancient forest. So when they cut down the ancient forest, those true springs, because of their exposure to the sun, disappeared and receded back into the earth. And in that process, also the Earth's ability to conduct its own bioelectricity was short-circuited and doesn't occur like it used to. So this leads into a lot of larger conversations, but a lot of what I want to do today is help people, help the patrons of your spas have a deeper connection to the earth, and to relate to the earth in its primordial state as they relate to their own bodies, and what can be done in our own pursuit of health and spirituality to have a deeper connection to the natural world. Is important to understand the natural world before it was devastated by man. So this is a true spring on the Umpqua River in southern Oregon. It's one of my most favorite springs. The water gushes out of the side of the earth at 4 degrees centigrade. So that is one of the delineating parameters that identify a true spring, is the temperature in which it comes out of the earth. And also another way of identifying a true spring is its lack of oxygen as it emerges from the earth. So true springs inherently are very oxygen depleted, and it's the process of the water cascading down the waterfall that infuses the oxygen into the water from the spring. Okay, and so this is a Schauberger diagram that shows this whole symbiotic relationship between essentially the cosmos, the earth, the ancient forest, and the true springs. So the true springs emerge deep inside the earth from a retention basin or an ancient aquifer. And because of the molten layers being close to those ancient aquifers, a distillation happens. And under pressure, the water from those retention basins or those ancient aquifers is pushed up to the surface of the earth. And this is kind of a much more involved conversation, but it's part of what made the earth, the forest, and everything alive, and how the earth pulsated, its heartbeat, its respiration, as a living organism, and its symbiotic relationship with the other planets in the cosmos. So this is the drop photography that was developed by the Schwenk family at the Institute for Flow Sciences in Herrischried, Germany. And on the left, we're looking at a water sample from a stream in the Black Forest. And this method of photography, it's very rudimentary. It's not high tech at all. What you're looking at is a droplet of water impacting a droplet of water. So under magnification, they're taking a picture of that impact, and it's exposing the laminar essence or nature of water and all the rose kind of petal expansion that occurs from the center outward. Whereas the picture on the right is from the same stream, but downstream of a town, where the water from the town, the effluent water from the town, has mixed into the stream. So you can see that water is very void of life, basically. So this was really inspirational work that the Schwenk family did in the late 50s, actually, was when they developed this method of photography. This is a more modern method of photography that depicts or exposes the life force of water. So on the left is a living water. There's very little gray or black inside there, and there's rainbow essences. This method of photography was developed by Viktor Schauberger. He's a German photographer. On the right is a dead, damaged water. So there's very little structure or geometric symmetry, and the image is all full of black and white. So kind of backing up a little bit here, water has memory.
Sorry,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Tom, can you mute your
Will everyone mute, please?
If everyone could please mute or be quiet so that I don't have to talk over you. Thank you. Water has memory. Water is a lot like a cassette tape or CD. It remembers everything it comes in contact with on an electromagnetic level. So even though we've filtered contaminants from water, its information or the frequency of the contaminants, the chlorine, the fluoride, the heavy metals, is still present in the water. So that's where this modern method of energizing or enlivening or revitalizing water and the whole idea of living water comes into place. So here we are in our modern world with pumps, pipes that transport water through straight lines in ways that it doesn't want to be transported. There's the necessity to revitalize water, to enliven water. And fortunately, there are many inventors who have developed technologies and systems to revitalize water. A lot of in this world, there's terminology that's used to structure water. I don't like that term because it kind of fragments the holistic concept that I want people to embrace around more of the environment and nature. Structured, to say water structured is kind of a very allopathic way of looking at it. I like to refer to as water as living or dead or energetically damaged, and the processes that I advocate to enliven water or revitalize water. This is Masaru Emoto's method of photography. It's a crystalline structure. This is actually samples of distilled water. On the right is distilled water before it was energized or revitalized. On the left is the same water after it's gone through a process of revitalization or clearing it of the harmful information and imparting a life-giving essence to the water. And this is kind of 4 different methods of photography showing that depict water as a living substance. This is a remarkable book by Andre Schultz, another German. They have a laboratory in Germany called Halgis, and their method of crystal photography is the Halgis method. So on the left, I believe that's Paris city water, and on the right is a mountain spring water. So this is a very scientific way of depicting energetically damaged water, your average everyday city water, versus a mountain spring water, which is alive water. So in 2004, I made 2 extensive trips to Europe, spent time with the Schauberger family. I went, this is me with Wolfram Schwenk at the Institute for Flow Sciences in Germany. The picture in the center is myself with Olaf Alexandersson at the Institute for Ecotechnology in Malmo, Sweden. And in the bottom right is a picture of myself with Alec Bartholomew and his wife Mari, who published all the Schauberger books. So I traveled over there extensively, met with all my Schauberger colleagues, and then traveled around and started to meet inventors and researchers working with living water or water energizing technologies. This is the Schauberger family's PKS. Schauberger studied Pythagoras and Johannes Kepler. So PKS stands for Pythagoras-Kepler systems. So all of the mathematics and the sciences that Schauberger outlined were very much inspired by Pythagoras and Johannes Kepler. And he also was a student of Goethe as well, Schauberger was. One of the places, or one of the people I went to visit, Jörg Schauberger said, "You've got to go visit Christian Steinbach." And Christian Steinbach, he invented this device that I'm holding, which is called an injection beam. And we're up on a glacier in Austria. And Christian Steinbach was known as the glacier healer. And he grew up there in Kitzbühel and observed the glaciers, the receding of the glaciers all his life. And what was really strange was he noticed that this one particular glacier wasn't melting, wasn't receding at all, where all the other glaciers were receding and melting and disappearing. And Christian got the idea to see if he could transfer the information from, or the life force or the frequency of the healthy glacier that wasn't melting to other glaciers. And that's how he kind of got known as the glacier healer. So in Christian's hand right here are some sticks where he transferred the frequency of the healthy glacier into these energy sticks. And then those energy sticks got attached onto this fire hose, which water is being pumped up from a fire truck. And then this is the injection beam right here with all these jets. It's upside down in the picture. But what happens is this stick gets attached to the hose. We flip the injection beam over and then injected water that was programmed by the frequency on these sticks into that glacier. And they actually did a whole video documentary of this titled The Glacier Healer. And what happened is where they injected the water with the information from the other glacier, it stopped melting and started growing back. Yeah. So, okay, moving right along. I was just enthralled with water. And the first inventor that I started working with was Johann Grander. And he was one of the pioneers of water energizing technologies. And we went and did whole life expos, and I really got behind the whole concept of energizing water or revitalizing water. And so I was basically one of the first people in North America to really get out there and advocate the whole idea of living water and how that can affect your personal health. And one of the really remarkable things that happens when you energize or enliven water, scientifically what happens is you relax the surface tension. Surface tension is reduced. So essentially, the water becomes wetter and it's better able to hydrate the body or penetrate the body's cells. So the whole process of enlivening water or creating living water, two things. One is you're feeding your body on an energetic level. The water's no longer dead. It's no longer contaminated with harmful frequencies. And the surface tension has been reduced. So the water has a greater ability to hydrate the body. You know, I think the doctors say like 85% of the world's population is what they refer to as subclinically dehydrated. It's an actual medical condition that most people are afflicted from. So in our quest to help people become more healthier, cellular hydration is really key. What can we do to enhance cellular hydration for people? And in my study of water and health, it's not just the water that we drink. It's also what we're doing for ourselves on a dietary level to enable the cells of the body to hydrate. So there's two key things that we need to be doing for ourselves dietarily. One is the ingestion of essential fatty acids, and two is the ingestion of electrolytes. So by nourishing our body physically with essential fatty acids and electrolytes, we're enabling the cells of the body to be hydrated. And then from there, we want to be drinking a water of a very high quality, a low surface tension. In my approach to water quality and my study of water quality, that of a mountain spring water is the very best for our daily drinking water purposes. So a lot of my quest over the years was to put together the finest drinking water system in the world. And how could I do that? And it's been quite a journey over the years. When I started out with just the water energizing, I kept thinking to myself, this can't be, there's no such thing as a magic wand that's going to make my water amazing. So there's the need to address both the energetic quality of water and there's a need to address both the physical quality of water. So that's where this company comes in, Aquathin. They've been in the water industry for over 40 years. And they put together the finest drinking water purification system in the world. Basically, it was rated the #1 drinking water purification component in all of the US and the UK. What this unit does is it takes water down to a laboratory grade purity. I fondly refer to the Aqualite as my water birthing mama, because basically what it does is it mimics what happens deep inside the earth when water is in contact with the molten layers. I look at a TrueSpring as a growth process. So deep inside the earth, the water is born, it's birthed, it's a hungry juvenile water. And then in that growth process, it's traveling back to the surface of the earth through the crystals, minerals, and stones, where it's fed, it's matured, and it's ripened. So I'm looking at water quality the same way a farmer would look at a fruit or a vegetable. You wouldn't drink a water or eat a vegetable, a fruit or vegetable that's immature. You want to eat a fruit or vegetable that's mature and ripe. It's the same with the quality of water that we want to drink on a daily basis. You want to drink a mature, ripe water. And that's what a mountain spring water is. So it's born deep in the earth, and then its journey to the surface through the crystals, minerals, and stones are its process of maturing and ripening the water. And this piece of equipment here removes all your biological contaminants, viruses, cysts, protozoas, heavy metals, pesticides. It even removes radiation from water. So this goes beyond ordinary reverse osmosis. And if you're interested, I can explain technically why this piece of equipment is so vastly superior to any ordinary reverse osmosis or distillation system. Aquathen creates a traveling system. This is a countertop system. And then this is one of their laboratory systems that creates water to be used in laboratories. So this is the UMH Energizer. I've worked with a lot of different water energizing technologies over the years. And this is one of the very, very best. They've been in the industry for a really long time in Austria. And I love the UMH Energizer. It's one of the most incredible energizing systems that's available. And this is a UMH Energizer on one of my drinking water system installations in Costa Rica at a yoga retreat center. This piece of equipment is called the Aquafy from Italy. It's running the water through a Fibonacci spiral to vortex the water and unlock the dissolved oxygen inside the water. The Aquadia, this is another system from Germany. It uses gemstones and different rare and gems and crystals and runs the water through a vortex chamber. I'm not sure if many of you folks know, but every different gemstone or crystal has an energetic property. So by working with the gemstones, we're endowing the water with the energetic property that comes from a ruby, for instance, or a diamond. This is the Aquadia. This is on the left here is the inside of a shower head. So the water runs through these micro vortex chambers and across the gemstones and then out of the shower head. This is one of the shower heads installed. So I'm moving along to show you kind of my toolbox of systems. And I'm going to speak a little bit about how that applies to the spa industry and how, as spa owners, you might be interested in taking measures to address the life force or the living energy of the water that's in your facility. This is a larger system that services a water main, Aquadia. This is an installation in a family's home in Virginia, where they have the Aquadia on the whole house. This is a remarkable technology developed in Japan, the Tensui. So this is the part where I'm mimicking the maturing and the ripening of the water. So inside the Tensui are all these rare minerals, crystals, and stones that transform the water, ordinary tap water, into a mountain spring water or a spa quality water. Tensui's remarkable technology. It turns ordinary tap water into a therapeutic water. And here's a couple of installations that I've done with the Tensui. Actually, this is a fully integrated system. So here are the pre-filters on the whole house, removing all the chlorine, chloramines, fluoride first. And then the water runs through the Tensui to transform it into a spring water quality. Next, it's going through the Aquafy from Italy, and then the Energizer. So the whole house is being supplied with the living water in this installation. Here's another installation where we have the pre-filter, the Tensui, and then the pieces of equipment to address the energy of the water. These are my custom drinking water systems. So it all starts here with the the aqualyte or my water birthing mama to purify the water down to a laboratory grade purity. Next, the water flows through the Tensui to transform it physically into a mountain spring water quality. And then there's, the equipment to address the energetic quality of the water, the aquatia and the UMH energizer. So think of the energy around water kind of like the aura of your body. It's open-ended. So we can keep building and making that water as live and robust as we possibly can with the technical means that are available to us. And that's essentially what I'm doing with my custom drinking water systems, is I'm just using the best equipment that I can in the world to create the very best, most living, cellular, hydrating water I possibly can for my clients. This is another installation in New Mexico. This is here in Colorado. A lot of people are kind of limited on space under the kitchen sink, so we found some space behind the trash can and recycling bin in the next cabinet over with this installation. This is another local installation. We have a bypass on this system, so we're able to draw the water off of the system before it's gone through the mineralizing process. So she's able to utilize the ultra pure water in making her own colloidal silver. So this client has her own colloidal silver generator, and she also has a hydrogen water machine. So with the bypass, she's able to pull the water off the ultra pure laboratory grade water and use that in her processes of making colloidal silver and hydrogen water. This is another drinking water system installation. This is a new system from Belgium. Christoph in Belgium created the biodynamizer. It's one of the most truly Viktor Schauberger inspired pieces of equipment I've ever had the pleasure of working with. I'm honored to now be offering the biodynamizer from Belgium. And this is something.
Sorry, Nevin. I just want to butt in real quick. Fascinating. And sorry, I called you Peter before. I have a good friend named Peter Nevin, and my brain just went into it. So we have about 15 minutes left on the call, and we just try to keep it within that range. And I would love. I know people are going to have questions and want to pick your brain a little bit. So just quick.
I'll wrap up the presentation here really quick. So this is a system for oxygenating a swimming pool or a hot tub. It's an all-natural way of conditioning water with nano oxygen, basically. No chemicals are required to maintain these pools, just nanoparticle oxygen that's being infused in the swimming pools. A really remarkable, healthy way of creating a healthy hot tub or swimming pool with nano oxygen. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap it up right now. And if I can figure out how to make myself available to answering questions.
Nevin, one more thing, if you could just go under participants and click on Balneology Association, which will come up on the right-hand side there. Sorry to make you do this. I just didn't have it prepared. If you can, I can just reclaim host there. Okay, you're good to go now that your screen's off. Thank you so much for the amazing talk. Jay Paul, I don't know if you want to moderate things, but Nevin, really fascinating.
Yeah, I'm sure nobody has any questions. Actually, no, you brought it to a whole new level here in terms of a deeper realm. We've jumped into certainly something deep. Now, what I would suggest is if you have questions, just raise your hand. I think, did Woody raise his hand? And no, Alina has her hand raised. Just unmute yourself and we'll go around question, but make sure they're short questions.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nevin. I really enjoyed listening to you. I'm wondering if you know anything about the difference. I was very, very interested by the nano cleaning system that you were talking about. And I'm wondering if you've heard of something called effective microorganism technology to also clean water. There's a company in Austria, actually, in northeastern Austria, that's been doing this quietly for many, many years. And I'm wondering if you know about that and how it is related to this, if at all.
Absolutely. So another side of my work is with lakes, ponds, and wastewater. And effective microorganisms are a part of my toolbox when I'm servicing a client with a lake or a pond or a wastewater facility. Effective microorganisms were developed back in the 70s in Japan. It's actually a Japanese technology. And there's a wonderful documentary that you can find on our website or online where they actually remediated a huge portion of the Sea of Japan with effective microorganisms. But yes, amazing for lakes, ponds, wastewater. Yes.
I had a pool in my backyard in Switzerland that I only treated with EMF and a continuing pumping system, and I put in reed beds, and I literally duplicated an ecosystem in my backyard. We used zero chlorine. My daughter used to swim in, and I used to keep fish in it, like a lake.
They use it in fish farms and shrimp farms. It's an amazing system.
Thank you, Alina. Other questions? Chris or Marcus or Anastasia?
Well, I certainly have some questions. I think it's fascinating, the process of, kind of vortex. I have a background in anthroposophic medicine also, so the biodynamic kind of methodology and the vortex component of a lot of the technologies that you're talking about is very interesting to me. I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about some of the electrochemistry of what's happening in the water and why a vortex in your kind of understanding of what's going on, why these technologies really, I know you kind of gave the what, but I think a little bit of a deeper of the why or the how is always interesting to this crowd.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I wanted to convey is, yes, your spa may have an amazing source mineral water, but what's happening in the pumping and the transportation of the water through these conventional mechanisms are energetically degrading the quality of that spring water or that mineral water that you have. So the project that I did in Costa Rica, we did on a swimming pool, and as the very last process in the recirculation of the water on that swimming pool, we had vortexing and energizing equipment implemented. So water was drawn from the swimming pool, ran through the filters, through the heater, through the pump, and then as a final process, it's ran through an energizing and vortexing process to re-enliven the water as it is introduced back into the swimming pool. So that can happen in any situation in your spa. And really, the why is because of the man-made infrastructure that exists in our water transportation, in our water delivery systems that are degrading the life force energetically. And as well, those processes of running the water through pipes and pumps and heaters can affect the way that the minerals are suspended in the water and their bioavailability to our bodies as well. So to energize or enliven or vortex the water, we're putting the water back into a more healthy, vibrant state that's going to be more therapeutic for people who are bathing at your spas.
Nevin, just quick follow up on that. For people who have commercial interests with the water, I understand private use, you can do whatever you want. You can have a beautiful natural pool with fish and all that. For commercial use, what has been your experience dealing with regulators when it comes to health and safety codes and commercial operations? with using these
Yeah,
systems and integrating these systems?
It's not so much an issue. So this is kind of like the icing on the cake. So spas, I've done a couple of different retreats and spa centers. Harbin Hot Springs in California, they had some of my energizing equipment on the recirculation of their pool, and it doesn't at all affect any of the regulating that the county or the state has on the spa. So that's a great question. But I've been there in those situations before in the past, and it's not a consequence as far as regulatory standards go for a spa.
Mm-hmm. What is striking me is that you are really bringing a new level of consciousness and awareness to water, to the waters, not just water, but the waters. And I was looking, at the book that you referenced here in terms of the Schwenk, and there's, what is living water, and then water consciousness. Yeah. How it's enlivening, it's energizing, it's vortexing. I mean, what you're doing is bringing a consciousness of nature back into the water that has been industrialized. And I think that it's somehow we're bringing that whole back. But you're doing it in a way that I respect is quite sacred. I mean, you have a reverence for the water. It's not just another product, so to speak. So that's something that I really admire from your work. And I'm hoping that, and that's kind of something I think that's happening here with Bana. That is, we have a sense of reverence for this. It's not just it's not a resource. It's the source. It's not just a resource. So greatly, yeah. Thank you much. And I agree with Woody. More of Nevin later. So this, as Bolgart said to Hepburn, this is the beginning of an interesting relationship. So, so Jonathan, you have a question. You're on mute. There he goes.
I don't know if you're talking to me or
yes.
Jonathan, because I didn't have a question.
Okay. Okay, Anastasia?
Mute. Hi. So Nevin, great job. It was fascinating to hear you speak. I'm good friends with Nevin. I've worked with Nevin, and I'm so pleased that you were able to share your knowledge with our group. What I'm wondering is that, and I'm by all means no expert, but in hot springs that are like flow through, and once the water's been bathed in and it's, say, getting returned back into the source, or flowing back into nature, would there be benefit in giving it some re-energizing and restructuring after all the myriad of people were bathing in it and leaving their imprint on the water? Would it be of environmental benefit to vortex it and restructure it before you put it back into nature?
Absolutely, Anastasia. Great question, and I love that. And that's really, J. Paul, that's right in there with your sentiments of how can we make a token of appreciation for the water and all the gifts that it's bestowed upon us by revitalizing it before it goes back to the environment. Yes. And one of the things that I didn't quite get to in my presentation, maybe another time, are flow forms, which are functional flowing water art that actually have geometry built into each piece of the form that the water is flowing through. So it's basically a vortex inducer, and these flow forms can be used in your establishments to help remind people of the connection with nature. They're just amazing. We'll have to talk about flow forms another time, because those are very, very, they're a patented design from England. They were inspired by Rudolf Steiner. They're what I refer to as an anthroposophic water technology. That's very beautiful and very functional in its ability to enliven water.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much. Am I missing? Are there other questions? I don't see any hands raised, but I would really, really encourage them. Go ahead.
Actually, I do have a question. Now I think about it. Is there an easily accessible and easily administrated test to see the current life force of your water? As you described living, where is it on the scale? I'm assuming there's a scale of how alive or not. We'd be very curious, certainly with our own water and those who are here on the East Coast and the Appalachia region with historical waters that we think of as living waters, but may not be.
One of the main parameters that is used in this industry of living water and energizing or revitalizing water is surface tension. So you can measure the surface tension before and then measure the surface tension after, and it's going to be reduced after running through a water revitalization equipment. Dissolved oxygen generally increases with the revitalization or energizing of water. So those are two good parameters: surface tension and dissolved oxygen.
I'm interested you mentioned that because our water is known to have a high concentration of dissolved oxygen in it. But I don't know how to measure surface tension. Is that a kit you can buy off the shelf or order somewhere?
I don't think so. It's a tough parameter. One of my dreams and visions for many years has been to have a laboratory here in North America where I can utilize both conventional and alternative methods to show the changes in water. And that's something that's still on the drawing boards that hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, thank you. There's a lot more. And I think, as I say, this is perhaps the beginning of several discussions, again, into the nature of water and the water of nature and how we go deeper into this. I really appreciate what you've laid out here for us, especially the history of Schauberger and the Schrank family. I mean, and there's a lot more. There's all the work that Easy Water that Pollock is doing. So there's a lot more. And I would really encourage everyone here to become a member of BANA, to become, it's not that much, but it's well worth it because we're dealing with infinity and eternity here. So you really need to be. And the sacred. So I'd really appreciate y'all joining in. And again, too, if you have persons that you would like to have, we're open for suggestions, but I'm certain that Nevin will come back again and we'll follow up. Irene had mentioned maybe a question and answer, and there might be some other things. I know we're going to be doing a presentation up in Saratoga Springs in October. BANA will be there. There are different places. And again, all of this has to do with drinking water. We haven't really even talked about the bathing aspect of all of this. So there's a lot more. And even to mix this with muds and minerals, there's just a whole lot more. But I just really want to thank you, Nevin, for laying this out.
Yeah. And if anyone's interested, just email me, info@truespring.com. And I can provide a lot of support information for today's talk.
Okay. Info@truespring.com.
Nevin, thank you so much for your time. J. Paul, thank you so much for walking us through this. And thank you all for showing up and being part of this community. So we'll see you all.